Our guest today on CivilNet is Murat Belge, Turkish writer, activist, and professor, who is in Yerevan today on the invitation of the Civilitas Foundation and has recently been the guest and participant in a forum entitled Understanding Turkey. And during that roughly hour-and-a-half long forum, many issues were touched on. So first of all, I thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Secondly, let's focus specifically on this idea of denial. In this case, we're talking about genocide denial and the Turkish approach to this. During the forum, you made a comparison to the Turkish system of nationalism to Frankenstein. I wonder if you could elaborate and explain to our audience a little bit more what you meant by that.
Well, of course, Mary Shelley had Faust on her mind, and that men should not aspire to be creative, that is for God. And so she wrote about this professor, scientist, creating a man. But that seems to me sort of emblematic, symbolic of so many things that mankind did and still doing in this age of technology, from the atomic bomb to many other things. For me, especially nationalism. We created nationalism, like Frankenstein created this monster.
When you say we, do you mean people in general, or do you mean in this case Turkey?
No. I mean in general. And like the monster, this nationalism is also out of control. Now, you create it and then it begins to control you. It becomes a frightening presence in your life. There are things that will offend nationalism if you say them, so you don't say them. And then it begins to shape life. And of course, Turkey is not the only example, but it is one of the major examples. In the Turkish case, this is the subject of my most recent book. Nationalism and militarism go together. Because Turkey, like Germany and Japan, which I treat in this book, had to launch on the road of modernization with the army acting as the locomotive. So that aggravates the question of nationalism, and nationalism plus militarism may be too much.
Okay, so as you make this comparison, and we talk about nationalism and you tie it back home to Turkey, can then you then take it to that next step and explain how this ties in to denial in the current situation we have now?
Well, end of 19th century, beginning of 20th century is a trying period for many societies, for many people. Sort of a re-establishment of the world. Now, according to the national principle, especially at the end of the First World War or during the World War, and a lot of these new nations coming out of this turmoil did not come out with the best, happiest memories and deeds and actions. And certainly Turkey did not have a rosy, clean
start to the century, huh?
Yeah. It was an empire, outdated, obsolete empire, dwindling down. A new nation state trying to come out of it with all sorts of struggles. And I mean, the nation needs a glorious history. But the real history is not glorious at all. So what do? You rewrite your own history, which means you try to do away with the things that are not so pleasant, or try to find excuses for those things.
But then how do you get your population to follow you on that path?
Well, the modern world means the modern systems of education. I mean, in the old times, in medieval times, etc., there was no need to educate the entire society. Only the elites needed that. But 20th century, the Industrial Revolution, this is different. The whole society has to be educated. They have to speak the same language, preferably with the same accent. And they have to have the one sort of common sense of history through which they will identify themselves with each other, etc. And it's not just Turkey. Again, many nations had to rewrite. Even the word rewrite may not be quite appropriate to sort of invent.
Recreate, or create, yeah.
Invent a history for themselves. And in Turkish history, there are many of these unfortunate events, none as important, none as drastic as the Armenian one. And here the sort of automatic defense, I did not do it, I wasn't there, I didn't see it attitude comes into being. Of course, in concrete historical process, this is also worked out by bureaucrats, politicians, writers, the media, etc., etc.
But then you end up in the situation we have today where Selpi, the Civilitas director, gave a comparison today where churches get rebuilt in areas of eastern Turkey or western Armenia, and they look beautiful and the whole process is undertaken, but you go out of your way to not put the word Armenia or Armenian in it when, it's very tough to dispute that at least in some aspect there was an involvement there. That seems excessive. That seems to be the type of thing where you're very far away from getting this much bigger issue taken care of. How would you respond to that?
Well, it's, one sort of abstract concept, uneven development, something sort of develops from the right side and something doesn't develop on the left side, and it's usually like that. I mean, this is more the rule than the exception all over the world. So to take an optimistic attitude, maybe we should be happy with the positive development
of the last 10 years
and try to improve what is not so positive on the other side. Yeah, there have been many improvements in general, but also the specific question we're talking about, the Armenian tragedy. Now, as I was saying at the talk earlier, at least we cannot talk about, a blockage of information.
Right.
Many relevant...
You're sitting here right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was sitting here in the 90s as well. I came first in 92, 93. But a lot has happened. I mean, so many books, documents have been published, including even the notebooks of Talat Pasha, which doesn't, leave much ground for discussion. I mean, the man gives the numbers, etc. And the person who published it is probably in complete agreement with Talat Pasha, but he had to publish it. He felt obliged to get it out into the open. So things do get into the open. I mean, that is the sort of dynamic of life. You may obstruct it, it may take a long time, etc. But like Abraham Lincoln said, I mean, you can deceive all the people some of the time. some of the people all of the time, but not all the people all of the time. So this is going to come out, has come out.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll leave it at that. It's a great way to think about it. We appreciate you leaving on a positive note, pointing out some positives, and you know, as we get 3 years away, we're 3 years away now from the 100th anniversary of the Armenian genocide, and we'll see if we get a little further. But the guest today was Murat Belge, and we talked a little bit about denial and Turkish Armenian issues, amongst other things. So thank you.
Thank you.